Well, I finally got back to the concourse and I've been making cafes, so stick around and all will be revealed. Well, welcome back. It seems a long time since I had this off the layout, but I think it's about time that I started putting in a bit more. So what I'm doing for this video, and maybe a bit more, is to look at the back scenes that are going to go there. This section here is a cafe restaurant. This is the image that I'm starting off with. So you can see that the two images, although they're not bad, they don't actually match each other because that has a totally different perspective vanishing point to that one. So what I propose to do is to squash the bottom image so that the end of the shops, where my finger is now, lines up with the end of the shops on the top layer. Something like that. So if you look at the end of the row of the shops on the top and compare it to the end row of shops on the bottom, you'll notice now that they pretty much line up. So helping the perspective, it gives the impression that you're looking down the same corridor on both images. I must say though, it's not perfect, but it's not far off. My thoughts now turn to this area here, which goes up to about halfway there, and that's a canteen or a cafe called Hourglass. Right, this was one of the pictures I took on my visit in 2018, so things may have changed a little bit, but this is how I'm going to do it. So if you can see here, this is the cafe at the top here, Hourglass. Now, as you can see, there are lots of chairs and tables at the top. So obviously I do need to make those, but with an FDM printer, it is quite difficult to produce exactly that. And so I'm going to do a simplified version of the chairs and tables, which will give an indication. But the other thing I want to point out is that we've got some parasols, two there, look. And I think there's another one down there, 4 in total, I think. But we've also got this gantry running around the top. Now, what it's for, other than decoration, I'm not sure, but I'm going to have a go at making that first and then start thinking about, there's a fence just behind this row of tables at the back there. I do have a photograph of it, but it's not mine, so unfortunately I can't show it to you. I've just printed off some of these little chairs and tables, as you can see. Yeah, so there's going to be a whole load of those going all around this area. I think this is one cafe up to there called Hourglass, and I think there's another one around here, I'm not sure. All right, next up we've got these parasols. Now I've literally just 3D printed it with a flat bottom, as you can see, and just painted the bottom black just in case there is ever a shot from underneath. So they look well, kind of all right. And I've left the texture as well, so it looks like there's a structure underneath. And I can't produce the writing down the edges, so I've literally just daubed some white paint all over it, and you know, it's just to give the impression, isn't it? And also there are some flags or banners, and now I don't know whether they're all green or all yellow. So I've done them one side green and one side yellow, so if it's wrong, it's wrong, and that's the way I've done it. And there is a piece of silver rod being painted just there. Right, welcome back. So you can see I've got an assortment of parts now. Just talk you through some of these things. We've got single tables. Just pick one of those up. I mean, we are talking tiny here. So that is about 6 millimeters tall, which would be a bar stool type table. And we've got some bar stools. Oops, there we go. And that one's just got a person glued in it. I'll show you an empty one if I can find one quickly, which is this. Yeah, so we are talking really tiny. Obviously you'll have seen these things, which I've actually discovered are round on the real thing, but I've done them now, so I'm really not going to scrap it and start again with those. We've got some double seats. In the real station, they are actually chairs with 4 legs, but there's no way the printer's going to go anywhere close to printing that. So this is the nearest compromise. And to be honest with you, I think once it's up against the tables, it will be absolutely fine. I'm not going to worry about that. And there's also some there with people in. I'll pick one of those up. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, so that's that. There's double tables. And also a fence, which will go that way to give the beach effect on the top. And also there's this gantry, I suppose you could call it. Now I've put it on upside down because I think the detail that the printer has created does look a lot more intricate. I'm looking at the circles in the corners. It looks an awful lot more intricate than it would that way. It looks quite flat, so I think that would be more pleasing to the eye that way up, and then that will go on something like that. But you might have also noticed this has changed. There was a wall here, and to be honest with you, I needed more space this way, so I've just chopped that out and I've had to put in a new piece of floor. Again, most of that will get covered up, so you won't notice it once everything's on it. Right, let's get going. Right, I'm starting to think about the back wall to the cafe, the Hourglass Cafe that is. Just move that person out of the way. So I've had to simplify things because obviously it is ridiculously small, and you might think I've gone to ridiculous lengths already. I probably have, or will plan to if I can do it. So that's the back wall, as you can see. Now there is actually another wall that comes off the side, but that's one of the compromises I'm going to have to make. I just haven't got room for the side wall. But this arrangement here goes in this section here. And then you've got, I'll just point with this, you've got these 2 glass shelves which run sort of down both sides of this. This is still gluing with glue and glaze, as you can see, and this one has just finished gluing. It's not perfect, but it is tiny. The whole of that, if I put a ruler up against it, you'll get an idea of how big that is. Get it in there. So you can see that whole thing is just short of 2 centimeters, and it is tiny, 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 tiny. So you can see, imagine these little shelves. That is 3 3D printed parts, which is like 3 ladders. There's a back piece and then 2 side pieces, which sort of sit like that. And then obviously the back piece is at the back. And then I've inserted these shelves, which are 2mm by 2mm. They've not gone in perfect, but they'll do, okay? Right, just thought I'd show you this. This is the back scene at the other end. Now this is the front of the layout, and this was the building over here that I did a long time ago, if you remember. Now I think it's okay and it kind of works, but there are two images here and it's trying to merge both of those images when you've got two very different viewpoints. Because I think somebody would need to be standing about here to get the exact picture that I need. But anyway, this scene will do as it is, and I'm not going to change it. So let's go on and look at what I've achieved on the whole scene. So there it is. So let's get a bit closer. I'm going to take... Right, so you can see, well, first of all, we've got a load of people in there, sitting down and standing. And you can see, although they've not come out particularly well, we've got these flags, and they're scattered all over the place, and these parasols, which are, everything's all 3D printed. Loads and loads of tiny little tables and chairs. And of course that grid thing along the top. Again, that was 3D printed. The only things that weren't 3D printed are these little signs here, and if you remember, I'll take you across to that bit at the back of the bar bit there, and the glasses which are hanging from that glass rail. So those are not 3D printed. So you know, we've got more tables and chairs. This bit does seem to be a bit more empty. Why people didn't want to sit there, I've no idea, but never mind. And we've got the food terrace again, which was just printed off the printer. Some more banners just there, and I think there's another one down the far end, if you spot that. Now, as I said earlier on, I think this part of the concourse has become a Starbucks, but because I haven't got very many pictures of it, and there are slightly more pictures of this arrangement, I've gone with this. So as was, there were these structures, I don't know what you'd call them really, barriers, I don't know. I don't know whether they've got a light fitted in the top of them or not. Maybe that would be a good thing to have, a personal light, but I honestly don't know. Maybe somebody knows what they're for. But as we keep going round, obviously there's more tables and chairs, and then we can see that it is a cafe Ratazza. Now, I couldn't model the whole building because this part goes way back. So I can only model this with the space I've got. So I've produced the front half of the actual building itself, and then I've used one of the pictures I found on the internet and just sort of tweaked it to my own ends, if you like. So I think that kind of works. And then moving across to the other image at the back. Sorry, it's a bit jerky. Now, there is one more thing I want to show you, and that is this. So we've got the Accessorize and the Hotel Chocolat. That there is a Metrolink doorway here. But to be honest with you, with the space I've got, I decided, well, I had to make some decisions. So that had to go. And there's also a double door just there. Again, decisions had to be made, so it fitted. Now this, I went ahead and made it, to be honest with you, because with all of these, you've seen one, you've seen them all with the making of them. So I've done videos on how to make them, so I'm not going to go through that all over again. But the body of this is 3D printed, and the top is 3D printed, and then I just glued them together. Then all I've done basically is find pictures, stuck it behind on the varying panels, created an open doorway here and there. And yes, I know it's supposed to have Hotel Chocolat written down the side there, but I will print that off at some point. But for this video, I'm not going to bother. And then obviously the acetate, which has been glued on with glue and glaze, okay, to represent the windows. And that bit goes under there. So it's not going to be well seen, but that will slot in at that point just there. Now, you might say, well, why haven't you glued it in? Well, the reason being is because there's an upper crust bakery just here, and it curves around the corner. So I want to be able to make the section and slot it in there, and then be able to butt that against the side of it. So you get the idea of where I'm going with that. Right, I'll take this upstairs now, put it on the layout so you can see it in context. Right, I just thought I'd give you a chance to see the station with the canopies back on and the lift towers and the bridge in place. So let's take you across now to look at the cafes. Now, I'm not going to go too slowly because you've seen, I've spent a bit of time looking at it, and it is quite difficult to get in there, so please forgive me for that. But you can get an idea of what this is like now. And just a brief look at the back of the station from the other end. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And obviously once I've done all the shops, there will be a roof going on that. But yeah, anyway, like I said, hope you enjoyed that making session today. And I'll finish the video there. So I'll see you soon. Just take care of yourself. Bye for now.